Αν και οι πρόγονοί μου κατάγονται από τη Μακεδονία, ήμουν η πρώτη ευγενής που έμαθε Αιγυπτιακά και τώρα θα πολεμήσω για την τιμή της Αιγύπτου.
Hello, I am the Professor, and welcome to my video here. We're going to be going for Tactician Swordsmen, and this video is going to be about the different lineups and hero pairings and combinations that you can go. This is a little bit more in depth, and yeah, this will be fun. So first off, we'll go over to our heroes. Legendary Swordsman Tactician. So as you can see, this is an army I've actually used very heavily. So I'll start explaining the different setups here that you can do. The first one's going to be with Sun Tzu as your commander, followed by Philip, and then Cleopatra. This is the normal default one. As a matter of fact, I can even do it over here. Sun Tzu, Philip, and Cleopatra's also. Ah, there she is. And with Swordsman. This right here is the default lineup. It's one that's standard that everyone's going to be going. You'll see some where they replace Cleopatra with Theodora, and I'll explain both of them and what happens with both of them, why. But I'll also explain why I'm putting Cleopatra as the stronger one by a significant margin. A lot better. So these three heroes, the first one we'll go with will be Sun Tzu. And the skills that we go with are Flash of Inspiration and Strategy Master's Gift. Okay? So the reason here is that for Sun Tzu to function properly, you want to be taking his signature skill and getting the ultimate strategist effect going. What this means is that you use your signature skill once, and then within the next 6 seconds, which is the next 2 activations, you activate Wave the War one more time, and that refreshes the duration and gives you a damage boost. So as long as you can chain these things with at most 1 gap in between, then you get to continue to have the higher damage. So if I were to go over here, I've got these base values that I've written down in advance, so I don't have to do as much math in the middle of this thing. But here's Sun Tzu. Okay, the damage you'll do at a base is going to be a 220, or sorry, it's going to be a 200. But if you're at 1 star, it goes up to 240. So this is not a very high damage value at all. But if you get Ultimate Strategist activating, then you're going to do a 200 plus an additional 220. So it's going to be a 420 in total. Now, at 1 star, it's going to become a 460. That is high damage. So that's a really, really high damage for a signature skill to be doing, as long as you're able to proc the bonus damage, which is worth half of your total skill damage. So your army is largely going to be focused around trying to get him to be able to activate that as quick as possible. And there's 2 general ways you can do that. The first one is you can just straight up increase his activation chance. And the second one is you can skip the charging state. So this one here, charging state, what happens is that, say you activate this on turn 1. Turn 1 it activates, it'll go into a charging state for 3 seconds. That is going to be 1 cycle. Hero 1 activates on turn 1, Hero 2 activates on turn 2, Hero 3 activates on turn 3, Hero 1 activates on turn 4, Hero 2 activates on turn 5, and it repeats. So every second, 1 hero will activate, and you'll go through all 3 of your heroes in 1 cycle, which is 3 seconds. So this thing here will put you on charging phase for 3 seconds, and then on your next one, so if you activate on turn 1, turn 4 is when the damage goes off. So this skill cannot activate a second time until the next 3 seconds, which would be 1, 4, 7. So if you activate it on turn 1, it cannot activate twice until turn 7. So it's actually got like half the speed of a normal skill. So someone else that who just does flat up, say, 250 damage, but with no extra effect or no charging skill, you're doing about equal damage to that because yours is half as fast. That's why skipping the charging state ends up becoming really, really important. And there's two ways to do this. The first one is Flash of Inspiration. Okay, so this one here is when the hero's signature active skill enters charging state, there's a % chance to skip the charging. The first thing to know is this is a hero's signature active. So if I were to say get Boulder Trap, which is a charging state as well, this would not be affected. Only the signature active skill is affected by the charging state. And similarly, if failed to skip the charging, increases the skill's activation. So this won't increase all your activations. It will only increase your signature. But in the case of Sun Tzu, that's perfectly fine. So when you're sitting, well, I can't really show it properly with this. You'll have a % chance over here, which is showing my 4 stars, which is why it's so high. So it'll go up and up and up. At maximum rank, it'll hit 85. So if you can get this thing all the way up to here, you have an 85% chance to skip that activation phase, which means now instead of firing once every 2 cycles, you can fire once every cycle, or at least attempt to. You get a chance to hit every cycle. And that will greatly increase your likelihood that you will... because if it's the normal way, you basically can never not activate or you'll drop it. This gives you an extra chance that you activate turn 1. Okay, turn 3, you either activate or you don't. That's your bonus try. Turn 7, you activate it. You've had that extra turn in the middle to keep the bonus damage going, which is what you really want. If you do not use Flash of Inspiration, which is an option, then what's going to happen is you're going to have to use Theodora. And Theodora has this purple skill called Maneuver. And this one here is an absolute gem. Okay, at max rank, it's got a 75% chance, which is a little bit less than the other one, but hey, this is a legendary. Or sorry, this is a rare skill. An epic skill, actually, sorry. 75% chance to skip the charging state of all the commander's charging skills. So this is the strong point of this one here, is it's not tied to your signature skill. So you can have Theodora with Maneuver, and if you do that, you do not have to take Flash of Inspiration, which is still a pretty strong one. So you could take Ultimate Strategy instead for more damage. So either this one or that one is mandatory. If you go with... Here's the difference, by the way. If you go with Theodora, you can use her Maneuver. You don't have to take it. If you go with Cleopatra, then you have to take it because Cleopatra doesn't have that skill. So depending on who your support is, either Theodora or Cleopatra, will determine on where you're getting your bonus from. And of the two, Cleopatra is much stronger than Theodora, but that one skill on its own is just that powerful. Maneuver is like probably the most powerful epic skill in the game. It's what it enables your other heroes to do is just bonkers. But it is so limited in use because the hero has to have a charging skill. It doesn't get used all that often. It just happens to be so incredibly potent when you do use it. So I'm going to go back to here. That's why I have Flash of Inspiration as one of mine, but it's also why I'm maxing out the stars first in exclusion of everything else, is to try to get that up to 85% as fast as possible. So if you're going Sun Tzu as your commander and you're doing this, then this is the skill you want to max out. But then you're almost never using Theodora, right? You're choosing one or the other, and you're going to choose Cleopatra in this case, 100%. The other one you go with here is Strategy Master's Gift. It gives you an increased activation chance, which is nice. It's a 10% here at low rank, and because you're maxing your skill, it'll probably stay low rank for a while. 10%, which is nice, but it's the flat 30% to all strategy damage that your hero deals. And that's all of this thing plus your commander skill. This is a huge damage increase. this one here is not going to give you. It's 12% versus 10%. So you gain 2%. Sorry, I think I pointed to the wrong one. It's 15% because it's for charging skills. So it's 15% for that one versus 10. 5% is not worth the huge amount of that. So with this one here, those would be the two skills that you go on this commander. Now, over here is an interesting one because there's going to be something here different than I think you're expecting. Boulder Trap. First off, we go Strategy Master's Gift because it increases your strategy damage by 30%, which is nice. And then you also get the 10% for your commander skill, which is nice. But I go Boulder Trap, and this is a skill I max out. So either Maneuver or Boulder Trap will be, ones that you can focus on for the epic heroes. Why? Well, this is an interesting one. I'm going to actually go to Sun Tzu just to demonstrate Boulder Trap. Okay, this one has a charging state as well. Now this one here deals strategy damage equal to some amount. If you look at ultimate strategy, when you get that up to level 40 with no stars on it, 234 damage, right? But if you go over to Boulder Trap and you do max it out, like I had done, 345 damage. Okay, 235 versus 345. It's almost 100 points higher. It is actually a huge amount of damage, and its limiting thing is charging state. That's what makes it its balancing effect. So if you got Theodora and you're negating the charging state on your commander with this skill, all of a sudden you just have what is essentially a maxed out ultimate strategy. Because this one's got 350. The epic skill has 345. This is a maxed out legendary skill, and its damage is equal to an epic one. It's dealing insane amounts of damage. So this is one of the things you can do with Sun Tzu if you have Theodora, is you go Strategy Master's Gift and Boulder Trap, because that will give you a massive nuke that has a 75% chance of skipping the phase and do lots of damage. So that's one there. But when it comes to Philip, I just take it because it's just straight up 345 versus this option here, which 20 times 6 is 120, so that's 320. This skill, if you max it out, is stronger than this skill at default, which is pretty significant. It means that without spending any legendary tokens, I can get the highest value for just raw damage with Boulder Trap. Both of these have a activation effect. The route one won't stack with itself, so it deals less. It's a little less damage than it would look like. But Boulder Trap has the charging state. So Strategy Master's Gift gives you increased damage. Boulder Trap. Now, one of the things to go here is that damage is 240. That's still pretty good. Okay, if you're at 3 stars, it's 290, but let's just assume you're at 1 star. And it ends up having a 30% chance. So you got decent damage. You've got Boulder Trap, which is more damage. This is starting to stack up a lot of damage. And then we get over to Cleopatra, and why this one is significant. Because most people are under the assumption that Cleopatra is a support hero, which she is. I think she even has a support take here. But what people don't realize is that if you go over to Cleopatra's skills, it does 320 damage. This one only does 240. If you're activating just at the one shot here, like 240 here, her actual damage from mesmerization is really, really high, even without the secondary effect. She just hits hard. She also has 2 effects, Crushing Impact and War Tactic, that do additional damage. So you can pack on huge amount of damage into her without even needing other support. As a matter of fact, you can even stick her as a commander and your damage wouldn't be very much lower than Sun Tzu. It's a little bit. So Sun Tzu is the stronger, but that's just emphasizing how much she has. So that's probably her biggest plug over Theodora, is just the raw damage. Now, for the ones that I'm going here, War Tactic, Crushing Impact, Double Attack, and even Sowing Discord. You have these 4 options. So why these 2 and why not these ones? So first thing here, Double Impact. I've done lots and lots of math. How much is this thing worth? If you've got your your mesmerization's a secondary strike, and actually so is Crushing Impact as a secondary strike. How much is Double Attack worth? Well, it turns out it's worth about 5%. The activation chance. At level 40, it'll give you from a 20% to a 25%. So that's about 1/4 increase. At maximum ranks, it's worth about 10% increase. So it goes from like a 20% to a 30%. So that's the value here. And that is useful, but just the raw extra damage from a secondary skill was proven to be more when I was doing the testing. Now, some people will go Sowing Impact, or Sowing Discord, sorry. And the reason for this thing is it steals strategy damage. This is true. It does do this, and that is neat. It keeps with the theme because it gives your commander even more strategy damage, and that's cool. But it's not the most significant thing. I'm going to go show you these skills here, and you'll see something interesting. Start with just damage. 185. And then War Tactic. Did I look at that wrong? I did. 185. Okay. This is at max rank. If you actually max out this thing, which is purple, so you can do that easier. War Tactic is a 187, so it's 2% higher. Okay. And Crushing Impact is 177. So instead of 180, it's 170. It's about 5 points lower. All 3 do almost identical damage, which is interesting. That means that no matter which of the 3 you take, your damage output is probably going to be the same, and it becomes a question of which secondary effects are worth more. This is what's used to decide between these. Now, if you go over to Sowing Discord, your secondary effect is 30 strategy. So minus 30 for the enemy, plus 30 for yours, so total 60 points. So do you want to do 60 points of strategy damage? Or Crushing Impact, 53 points of might reduction. So it ends up being very, very similar, except this has a strategy bonus scaling. So how much strategy does Cleopatra have? Well, when you math out... Here we go. So this is just her basic thing after it's been factored, which means after I've taken the 1.6 multiplier and put it in. They will also get plus 15% stats from your talent tree, which when factored out becomes plus 24. So you're going to take Cleopatra's strategy of this number, add 24 for the talents, and add how much she gets for her 5-star. Now I've factored all these numbers so that they're easier to calculate, but if I go and grab here, we're going to get 282, or actually, you know what I'm going to do? A equals 282.17 plus 24 plus, now Cleopatra stars, because you get Cleopatra at 5 stars basically guaranteed, then we're going to count it at that thing, plus 72. Okay, so 378 is what her strategy is going to be. If we go over to here and go A equals, now I want to do this 1 plus A times 0.3 divided by 100. Now I'll explain. A times 3 is what's going to give you your multiplier. The plus 1 divided by 100 is what's going to turn it into a decimal that I can use. So a 2.13. This is going to be how much your modifier is going to be. So now we can go over to here, and I don't know what to call this, B. We'll probably delete this in a second, but equals, now, 53.6. 53.6 times A. And I should be able to shut that down. So I just went and got your base strategy here. 378 is what her strategy at level 5, or sorry, with 5 stars at level 120 is going to be. Then I went and figured out what her skill multiplier is. It's going to be a 2.13, basically 113%. Then I took that and took this effect here. It's going to reduce by 114 might for 6 seconds. Let's go back over to this guy for a second. It's going to do 30 plus 30, so 60 for 3 seconds. All of a sudden, 60 for 3 just does not match up to 114 for 6. They all of a sudden they become very, very different numbers. So this is why you don't use Sewing Discord. It is cool. It does match up the theme, but its numbers are smaller than Crushing Impact. It's just that much more. Now, one of the things as well is that after you've done maxing out Sun Tzu's, his one ability I told you there earlier, the next thing you want to probably max out is War Tactic and Crushing Impact equally. And as soon as you start putting stars on these ones, Sewing Discord falls behind. It matches up to a 0 star fairly well, but it does not match up once you actually start putting skill stars into these ones. So this one here gives you about 5% extra on the others, which is nice. It's just not worth as much as the raw damage from these two ones here combined. So that's why Cleopatra goes the way that she does. So that's the standard lineup. Now, for your rings, what you want to do for your ring is go Ring of Serpent. There are 2 rings that are extremely important for Tactician Swordsmen, and they are both extremely reliant on what you're trying to do. Ring of Serpent gives you strategy, which is nice, but it gives you a might bonus on the strategy. You're thinking, well, it's might. These are Tactician Swordsmen. They've actually got... let's see if I can grab... There we go. Because, like, here's Sun Tzu's strategy is 376. His might is 188. It's a lot less. Well, how much value is that? Ends up becoming a very important question. What you can do, let's see if I can pick this off the top. I think it's this one. Nope. There we go. So this is the one that other people might look at as being its equivalent. 13.65 is the same thing as 13.65. This one gives you stats that are all 3, whereas this one gives you just straight raw strategy. So you still have might, which is nice. If I were to go down to... Why can't I go... Yeah, never mind. Here I am. I went and did some common numbers for the math, and this is all not going to make sense because it's just a whole bunch of numbers. I know that. I'm trying to make certain ones pop out. If you go with Sun Tzu, the level 1 ring gives you 13.65 as base. Okay. The level 10 ring is 20.999. So that's right here. With Sun Tzu alone, this is worth 21 strategy because of the might there. However, if you have Cleopatra, who gives you a bonus 155 strategy and might, all of a sudden that might scaling gets turned back into strategy. And now all of a sudden it goes up to 27%. This gets more significant as your base power increases. So level 1 is not very strong. Level 10, which is where you really should get, becomes a lot stronger. It ends up giving you an extra 32 or 33 strategy. But if you use Cleopatra, now it's getting an extra 42 strategy. That's half of your stars. Like you can take, or half of Cleopatra's stars. Like the 42 strategy is a significant amount. Everyone else is getting 22. Like if they use the other ring, they're only getting 20.1, whatever that is, strategy. You're getting 42 for using Cleopatra. It scales really, really well. It synergizes, I should say, with Cleopatra because you get so much extra might on there. So if you are using Cleopatra, then it's really valuable to put the might ring, or sorry, the strategy ring of the Ring of Serpent on your commander, because that's who's going to get buffed. It's very strong synergy. It's one of the best ones. If you can get the ring up to level 10, which I've only got mine up to level 5, I haven't gotten there yet, all of a sudden it becomes something significant. It's decent at level 1. It's way better at level 10. So rushing that ring to level 10 is one of your priorities. The other ring that is really, really significant, I'm not sure if people catch this one or not, Azure Moon. This is charging state again. Deals massive strategy damage to the enemy troop. Okay, here's this. Why is this one significant? Because if you go Theodora instead, you've got maneuver, which skips charging phase. So that means that if your commander has the ring, the Azure, whatever, Azure Moon ring, it skips this one here, and all of a sudden now you just got an extra nuke that you can put onto your commander, which is going to be Sun Tzu at the moment here. If you can get this thing up to level 10, it becomes 130 nuke. That's actually really significant to get. On top of the fact that your heroes, Sun Tzu has such a high base strategy level, it's going to make it stronger. But it also has this skill here, which makes your strategy damage 30% stronger. This only increases the activation chance of signature active skills, so this does not affect it. But that's one of the things that you can get. Extra 30% damage on top of really high scaling can be really, really significant. Generally, the way I would suggest it is whatever your commander is if you're using Cleopatra, your commander should have the Ring of Serpent because of the synergy, and your secondary hero should have the Azure Moon. If you're using a Theodora, then your commander should have the Azure Moon, which is switched, and your deputy should have the Ring of Serpent. So you'll use the same ones, but you'll swap them out, whichever one's more synergistic with what you're trying to do, because it's still a very powerful nuke, even in secondary place. So that is, those two rings. As for your third ring, oops. Your third ring, a nice and cheap one to go for, is Ring of Rose. Okay, it deals strategy damage to your troop, and with a small one there, strategy bonus. It has a strategy bonus, which is nice. It deals strategy damage, so that scales with everything else you're doing, and it's additional scaling of damage. Now, the blue rings are not very expensive, so if you just have one blue ring and you focus all of your time and effort on the other two rings that you're actually putting intention in, this one will just sit here forever and it'll do you great. Don't upgrade it to the next level. It actually gets a lot more expensive for doing that. if I were to go down here, Azure Moon's 108 to for level 1, just to unlock the ring, and 289, so almost 300 to hit level 10. This one here is 37 to unlock, which is not high, right? That's a lot lower, but 110 to hit level 10. So to get it to level 10 is actually fairly expensive, but to unlock is less so. Ring of Rose is only 14, so you're going to be able to get it really, really cheap. But it's going to cost you more than, it's going to cost you half of this just to try to upgrade it. It's not worth that many hammers. So just take this one up to level 14, and, take your Ring of Serpent and try and upgrade that one as the one you focus on. Or Azure Moon, if that's the one you want to go for. Quick thing on why you want Azure Moon and not one of the other ones. Well, the other two options here, the Everflame Wings, which is nice, Skyward Knight is nice. The hammer cost for these special rings is astronomically higher than the ones for the, 2.5 times higher just to unlock. By the time that you've just unlocked a level 1 Skyward Knight, you almost already have a level 10 Azure Moon. And that's going to be more significant to you. That's why you would go for those rings and not the more advanced ones.